Chad Smith, we're back on the grid with David Lee Scales and the Hamburglar.
Oh my goodness. I am the hamburger. I wore something different for you today. I kept the pants and shoes the same, but I changed up the top just for you.
Stole some hamburgers on your way to the podcast.
You know what I'm excited about? Speaking of stealing hamburgers.
Tell me.
Have you had the legendary Popeyes chicken sandwich yet?
No.
I haven't either, but I have purposed. I found one in Oceanside, and I'm going to pick one up on the way home from the Grit today.
Meaning you found a Popeyes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I knew nothing about it until it made news story during the pandemic or something where they were sold out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit even before the pandemic, if I recall. I think Popeyes chicken sandwich beat Chick-fil-A's in some taste testy thing. And then it was mass hysteria to go get Popeyes. And I think black people who are typical Popeyes customers were furious because I think even Saturday Night Live did a sketch about it because white people were just like flooding in, eating all these chicken sandwiches. I think they were fully sold out of many locations. So I'm going to be one of those white people today.
So you and I did discuss this. It's all coming back to me now. Yep. I don't know if it was on air or not, but my problem is I don't know where a Popeyes is.
So that's the thing. Okay. I Googled, found one, and we'll hit it on the way home.
Got it.
Excited.
Got it. Now I'm fully caught up to speed.
Yeah.
Now, I love the idea. Is it actually going to be good? Or is it just going to be fast food good?
Well, I think it's going to be good.
Really?
I'm holding hope that it's going to be good.
Like proper good?
Proper good. It's funny. Guess who reached out to me our fast food conversation? Of all the people you could think who gave me a very thoughtful note rating his favorite burgers with other like nuances about them and things like that. Like a nice detailed email.
No clue. Who?
Bob Hurley.
Shut up.
Yeah, how good is that? Yep.
What's his ranking?
I can't remember. It was like he was definitely pro the thin patty on the burger. Not overwhelming the burger with thick patty. And then he also shared a recipe of putting how I could do it at home with onions, I think, mashed into the thin burger patty to bring maximum flavor to the table. Yeah, it was like, which I'm going to do.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Thanks.
We won't talk any surfing at all.
Just burgers.
Mainly burger talk, maybe a chicken sandwich.
I mean, Burgers with Bob could be a podcast in and of itself.
We could do taste tests.
Yeah. I'm totally down. Let's start Burgers with Bob is coming.
I made a burger at home after that conversation, maybe a day or two later.
Was it not very good?
It was phenomenally good. And I took a photo of it in the moment, but I was like, I'll send this to Chaz tomorrow or something. And I just never got around to sending it.
Did you get a good photo? Was there like a little bit of blood dripping from the meat?
Do you want to see it?
I do want to see it.
Hold on. You're going to criticize because
the burger's going to be too thick.
The patty's thick, but it's hard to deny the quality of this burger.
Let me see. Oh, that's a fine looking burger right there with a nice big beefsteak tomato on there. How gross is the name beefsteak tomato? It's a gross name, but that's a good looking burger. You got the cheese really right on that thing. Phenomenal. Is that a pretzel bun?
It is a pretzel bun.
Oh,
How do you feel about the pretzel bun?
I love the pretzel bun. Pretzel bun is a win. And I don't think I've ever had a bad pretzel bun, to be honest.
Pretzels in general, soft pretzels.
Yeah, good.
Are amazing. But I agree, pretzel bun is a phenomenal addition to the culinary landscape, which I'd say is maybe 15 years old.
Yep.
Pretzels existed, buns existed, but 15 years ago they mashed them together.
Pretzels and buns.
Now they do them with a hot dog even occasionally.
Oof.
But, again, back to our original burger talk, which was I like a classic burger. And it's fine if it has foie gras and blue cheese and all that other stuff, but that's a different thing. Sometimes you just want a regular
fancy burger. Yeah.
Right. So we got back from the dog park, swing into the grocery store. I go in to get the buns, and I'm texting feverishly with Lauren, and I'm sending her photos like sesame seed bun, potato bread bun, pretzel bun. What do we do here? And it was a lot of confusion. I stood there for 3 minutes trying to figure it all out.
Have you ever gone Hawaiian roll bun?
I have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a little bit of sweet in there. But really, if you have a good pretzel bread option, I don't know how pretzel bread is not the call every time.
It's going to honestly...
Or more times than not.
Because that burger you just looked at is a classic burger, but with a pretzel bun. And honestly, I think it replaces the sesame bun.
A little fancy on top. Yeah. I mean, sesame bun... give or take sesame seeds. I think that, is it sesame seeds or what are the little black ones?
Black ones that exist on bagels?
Yeah.
Maybe poppy?
Poppy seeds, that's the one. If you eat too many poppy seeds, did you know you can test positive for heroin?
I did. I don't think that's true. I
it
think people use it as an excuse when they test positive for opioids. But let's focus on the sesame seed for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, do they only exist on hamburger buns? Where else in the world does a sesame seed exist?
In tahini.
That's true.
You're
right. The Mediterranean paste.
Mediterranean dip.
Which I use all the
dip.
time.
Yeah, tahini's great. That's sesame seed.
Okay, so sesame seeds are prolific in other parts of the world.
Yep, just not, here we use them for our hamburger buns solamente.
I was just thinking, if sesame seeds disappeared off the planet, Americans would never be the wiser.
Except for tahini. I feel that there's
Americans.
enough Americans who eat, 4% of the population would be fairly devastated.
All right, fair enough.
Oh.
Now, I'll take back that statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so Popeyes, I'm excited. I need an update later today.
I will text you a picture and an update on how it ranks to both the fancy chicken sandwich and also the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich.
Side note, yesterday morning, because on chicken sandwiches, I'm thinking sometimes it's on a biscuit.
Yeah.
I don't know if Popeyes.
Chick-fil-A does their breakfast chicken sandwich on a biscuit, which is better than their regular chicken sandwich for my money.
Okay.
When they first rolled that out, they were giving them. So I rolled into Chick-fil-A to get a chicken sandwich one day, and they were giving away breakfast sandwiches just promotionally. Like, try this. This is our new breakfast chicken sandwich. I ate my breakfast chicken sandwich and then was full for my chicken sandwich that I purchased and was sad about it. But the breakfast chicken sandwich was so good that it invalidated their regular one.
Which was their exact purpose. Not to invalidate the other, but to get you hooked.
It sort of backfired, though, because I don't go out for fast food often for breakfast. But it made me stop going to Chick-fil-A full stop. Yeah, because I didn't really care about their other one anymore. I just wanted their breakfast one.
So their plan exactly worked, but you're an outlier. I don't know how they could have factored in the way that your brain works. Like, okay, he's going to love it, which means he'll never come back. What?
Yeah, that's what happened.
So yesterday morning, I woke up in San Luis Obispo.
Ooh.
And, Yelp coffee shops, and this place, Scout, pops up. And so I go there, and in their pastry aisle they had biscuits, their pastry case, like all these fancy pastries, and then just plain old buttermilk biscuit with butter and raspberry jam.
You got that.
Of course.
And the best thing ever.
Best thing I've ever eaten. And sometimes this happens where it's the most simple thing. Often it's bread, actually, where I eat it and I go, this is as good as food gets. Yep. I don't think you can improve upon a buttermilk biscuit.
Nope.
It's as good as things get. Texture-wise, flavor-wise.
Filling.
Totally filling.
I totally agree. Biscuits and gravy. Have we talked about biscuits and gravy?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Remember I ordered it for you in Florida?
Yeah, exactly. My favorite food on any breakfast menu, biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
A good buttermilk biscuit with a nice sausage gravy. Mm-hmm. Salty.
Yeah. Yeah, I really had an epiphany yesterday with biscuits. I was like, I don't know why I try to make like fancy things and just stick with a biscuit.
You're a baker cooker, man. I think that biscuits are relatively easy to make at home.
Yeah, they totally are. The other thing I feel this way about is a strawberry.
Uh-huh.
There's no way to improve upon a strawberry.
Good. Do you like your strawberries big or the little ones?
Bigger. Medium
Really?
size. Well, medium size.
I really love a small strawberry.
It's a different breed though, right?
I don't think it is. I think the bigger ones are just filled with genetically modified things.
Possible.
And the small ones are the natural strawberry.
I feel like even like a chocolate covered strawberry, it's really good, but it's not an improvement upon a strawberry. A strawberry pie is actually a downgrade.
Strawberry pie is not very good.
No, a regular strawberry is better than a strawberry pie.
For sure.
So anyways, we got feedback from by the way, we're at Album Surfboards in our brand new studio.
I'll tell you, I didn't think Album could improve upon its last space. And I don't think this is not going to be open to the public, is it? Is this just the offices?
So I think that room over there is going to be a retail space.
Okay. I mean, this space is even better, and maybe it is purely the historical juice imbued from, who is the shaper here?
Jed Knoll.
Yeah, Knoll.
Yeah.
Greg Knoll's kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did what's his name? Jed? Jed Knoll?
Jed. Yeah, J-E-D.
Jed Knoll.
Yeah.
Did Jed Knoll ever make a model of a surfboard called Da Bull?
I don't think so.
Do you think that Greg Knoll copyrighted Da Bull or trademarked it?
He would have been wise to.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't have.
Could have sued Saturday Night Live for their Da Bulls sketch, Da Bears and Da Bulls.
That's true.
Yeah.
And maybe even Red Bull he'd have a case against.
Would have been smart.
But this Space studio or album built this studio out for us. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So shout out to Album Surfboards.
Swing by.
Feedback from last week. We recorded, you were in Jackson, Wyoming. How was your drive back?
It was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, good. Stopped
many
in
hours?
Vegas. It was 10 plus hour to Vegas and then the
4 or 5 home.
Yeah, 4 back home.
Okay.
But Vegas was pure apocalypse. It was amazing. It is absolutely, I wish that I could go back today.
Meaning like people are there?
No, nobody is there.
Oh, okay.
There's like a exact cross section of the people who are typically there. Minus 90% of them, right? And so you have the 2 older Chinese businessmen. You have the 4 kind of boys trip dudes.
Yeah.
You have the man dating the Asian woman. You have the exact cross section you see every time you go to Vegas.
The bookie, like the sports book gambler addict guys.
Precisely. But usually, there's hundreds of thousands of each.
Right.
Now there is 5 of each. And so the casino floor, we stayed at the Encore, which apparently closes so we stayed Sunday night, closes every Monday and then reopens again Thursday.
Wow.
And so it's like, get your car out of the parking lot. If your car's in the parking lot past noon on Monday, you come back on Thursday and get it, basically. But floor is empty. Everything is empty, but everything is still open. And so it just has a kind of, the rapture came, everyone went to heaven except for the 4 bros, the 1 man dating an Asian, the 2 older Chinese guys. Like,
was it super cheap?
Cheap like Vegas typically is, I think off-season Vegas. Like, yeah. Food prices and everything are same, but the rooms, I think, more plentiful. You could, if you wanted to go super cheap, I think that like MGM was offering rooms for $19 or something, maybe 24. But yeah, like fairly typical low season Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a need to ever go to Vegas again in my life.
Oh, I love it.
I know you do. We've had this talk too.
Love Vegas.
But the scenario you just described, I'd go just for the novelty.
It is worth it. It is worth, you could take your girl out for a weekend in Vegas. The pools are open. Everything's open. It's just nobody's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to take advantage of.
It is.
Remember Vanilla Sky?
The movie?
Yeah, where Tom Cruise is running through Times Square and it's empty. He's in a dream. But when I watched that movie, it was just surreal. That's reality. That is what Times Square looks like. That's what Vegas looks like.
You walk through the casino floor on the Encore, at least on Monday morning, and the dealers are there. Half the table or more than half the tables are shut down, but the dealers are there. The servers are there. The staff is there. The people are not there.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wild.
It's a really sad time, actually, in terms of imagine carrying all that cost. If you're the business owner, and certainly I don't feel as bad for the casino owner as I do for the local.
I think Steve Wynn is.
I feel much worse for our local restaurants and things like that. But this is unsurvivable. Yeah. There's nobody with enough. There's 99% of business owners don't have the financial wherewithal to have survived the first 9-month thing. But now kind of looking outward, it's another year. It's indefinitely.
The vaccine is here and doesn't seem like it's done anything in terms of, vaccine's here now, everybody can open back up. Nope.
It's really crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
But we're podcasting through it all.
Our costs are nil. Really, they're really low.
Yeah.
So we can kind of just power through. But
we can keep the doors of our podcast business open.
Thanks to Album.
Yeah.
So a professor sent this note, which we can kick off the show with, said, you were spot on for pushing back on Chaz's original flippant response to the political siege or the Capitol building siege. I teach political science. American politics, and democracy nonetheless, this was one of the first times I've actually been speechless. My students emailed me as it was happening, asking me what the hell was going on. For most of my time teaching, I've been able to explain these things and calm my students down. Last week was the first time I've had to tell them I honestly have no clue what's happening. I've talked them through the 2016 election, racial protests, the death of RBG, and the rest of the Trump term. This left me speechless and honestly clueless, and my job on how to do my job to explain these things to my own students.
I'm doubling down right now. I've had a week to think about this. People have lost their ever-loving minds, including our dear professor here. What in the world? Have people never, like all of a sudden, okay, so when this first started, when we talked about it last week in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. What were the images that were being really pushed out there? There was the Q shaman. It was weird people having kind of a weird party, right? Now, that weird people having a weird party narrative has totally lockstep shifted to this was an insurrection. They're insurrectionists. Bullshit. I was not there, so I don't actually know. But for sure, it was a mob of people, got out of control, walked to the Capitol, didn't get any resistance, so kept going up the steps, didn't get any resistance, went into the door, didn't get any resistance, started walking around offices having a wild party. Literally, I'll help you, professor, explain it to your students. When people get together and drink and get all riled up and there's no real resistance, they'll just do whatever they kind of want and then they tamp themselves down. This was not an insurrection. And I cannot believe that the insurrection narrative has been taken lockstep by everyone. These were domestic terrorist insurrectionists who were trying to overturn the election. They were absolutely, I think they had no idea what they were trying to do. They were there getting out of control. Maybe some of them really thought, if you could poll every one of those people, were you trying to overturn the election? I guarantee many of them thought, yes, the election was stolen. Many of them thought, we're going to go protest and show our Congress people, that we're upset about this. Nobody was stealing electoral college vote lockboxes and burning them in the street. So this narrative of insurrection, let's call it what it was. Let's just say it was a party that got out of control. Blame Trump for it, for inciting it, all that stuff, great. But calling it an insurrection, to me, cheapens every insurrection that's ever happened. This was no insurrection.
You're not wrong that the majority of those people probably were of the mind that you're talking about.
The vast, vast majority.
But there are people within the group and actually organizers of the group who implicitly stated that their goal was to steal the election ballots and also hunt down Nancy Pelosi and hunt down Mike Pence. And those things were organized and planned long in advance.
I understand that, and I'm sure that those people who actually planned that, once they got in the building, were like, what do we actually do now? I don't think there was
asked for directions, and the Capitol police officers gave them directions to the offices.
Sure, but was any Congress person touched by any protester?
No, because thankfully that group of policing did their job effectively until they got to the point where it all came to a bottleneck and they actually pulled the trigger and shot the woman. And the guy was punching through the glass and then they pulled the trigger and shot the woman because, they weren't able to hold back the crowd up until that bottleneck and they realized deadly force is kind of But I think you're right. Like that party thing, you're absolutely correct. The problem is we know that within any given party, there's going to be statistically some crazy person who's going to bring a bomb, who's going to do something insane. And so you can't let the party rage on.
Precisely. But and I'm not justifying what happened or saying that it was okay or good. Like clearly, and once things start going out of control, then they are by very definition out of control. They're not being controlled and anything can go wrong at that point. Like I have no doubt that the mob could have reached such a frenzy that they really did start kicking down Nancy Pelosi's door.
It did. By the way, they beat a police officer. Sure. You saw that video. It's insane.
It's awful.
With an American flag, by the way, and a flagpole.
Awful, and awful things happened, and it was out of control. But to call it like an insurrection, again, I think is misuse of, it was a bad mob scene, or a mob scene that went really bad due to lack of bumpers on it, right?
Yes, but it never would have even the rally never would have even taken place if the insurrection wasn't the initial impetus.
I think
Stop the Steal was the chant.
Sure.
That was the whole title for the entire get together.
But I think when people say stop the steal, and again, I'm speaking for...
I think you're right. Most people show up just going, I'm going to be supportive of this movement. But there is, I mean, even with American military, there are the ones who are on the front lines fighting, and then there's all the support staff, you know? And so you're right. The vast majority is the support staff. But the fact that you can get that many people to rally together to do something like support the steal, which by the way is unfounded. The entire concept was fabricated from the get-go, you know, like to put your life on the line and jump through all those hoops because one leader is telling you to do these things and you're not kind of using your own critical thinking along the way to assess whether or not the thing that he's saying has any validity is really, really scary.
But flipping that same coin here, I think it's really scary that Lockstep, the media, and the left right now is lockstep calling that thing a dangerous insurrection, those guys insurrectionists, all this, right? Like, I think there's equal groupthink going on the other side where people thinking, no, we're thinking critically. We're looking at this and saying these people are all domestic terrorists. Anybody who supports Trump is a racist domestic terrorist, and they proved their colors by raiding the U.S. Capitol. I think, come on, let's really take a step back. Party gone wild, out of control, unfortunate, but let's call it what it was, people. Come on.
Yeah, the media kind of lockstep defense is, I think, in response to there is this huge mob. We need to shift the narrative as quickly as possible. And you're right, they're abandoning a lot of kind of nuance and critical thinking in their messaging, but it's the reaction thing has grown to a point where each person is enacting a larger response to kind of take back their ground.
I mean, it's just like the only thing, critical thinking, I think, and free thinking, allowing somebody to think something different than you and being able to discuss it rationally has all gone out the window. Now the only thing people can do is scream as loud as they can the things that are indefensible. So on the left to right side, I think they're screaming racist, homophobe, you know, all this kind of stuff where you can't, and just screaming it as loud as they can. Right to the left, I don't exactly know what they're screaming, to be honest. I guess they're screaming, you stole an election?
I forget.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, you're right. That's what the current message is.
But the tone is just, there's no way to debate or think freely. Like if you have a Trump friend, like having a Trump supporting friend now is more or less illegal.
Right.
If you're on the left. And I would imagine the same is true if you have a lefty friend and you're a Trumper.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah, but I think,
because if you live in Texas,
if you have Trumper friends and you're a Trumper, that's all fine and good. I'm saying if you're a lefty though, and have Trumpers as bros, I'm sure your lefty bros are like, you, sir, are an abomination.
Yeah. It's wild. It's
wild
a really wild time. Well, this is that was meant to tee up a segue to surf adjacent music artist Ariel Pink is canceled.
See?
I don't even know what this story is. I don't know who Ariel Pink is.
So
inform me.
I was first introduced to Ariel Pink. Why he's surf adjacent? He's surf adjacent for two. He's really could be even considered surf, I think. Not even surf adjacent. But I was introduced to the music of Ariel Pink by Pete Terrace, who is the world's greatest surf photo editor. When the Surf Editor Photo Hall of Fame is erected in San Clemente, Pete Terrace will be the first inductee. He was the photo editor for Transworld Surf, photo editor for Surfing, photo editor for Surfer, and I think changed the game in so many ways. A very beautiful, critical eye. Anyhow, Pete introduced me to the music of Ariel Pink. All fine and good. There's one connection to surf. The second connection, his label is called Mexican Summer, which I think is a surf music sort of specific label. I think a lot of surf bands, surf music. I saw Mexican Summer did a collaboration with Pilgrim Supply in New York, like really a very surfy music brand. So anyhow, Ariel Pink happened to go to the Insurrection in Washington, D.C., was there on the lawn of the White House, listened to the speech, claims he went back to his hotel to sleep, didn't go to the Capitol, but was subsequently dropped by his label for even being at a rally.
Was he like posting selfies from there or anything?
I think he posted something on social. Like, I think he said something like vote Trump, or it was something like that. But it wasn't no pictures from Capitol, no pictures of him storming anything. Just he happened to be there.
His association with that day's events
Canceled
by his record label.
Done. That's all it takes is being, which again, how is nobody standing up at all for any kind of free speech, for the right? Even if I disagree with what, one thing, if there was pictures of Ariel Pink bashing open Nancy Pelosi's door with a fire hydrant, or a fire extinguisher. Fire hydrant would even be better. That would be impressive. Another thing, to simply go to a rally.
Yeah.
And going to a rally now is a fireable offense.
Well, yeah. So it's such a weird little thing because he still has freedom of speech. He still has access to free speech. It's just that a private or company.
That's what everybody's saying. But
a private company who's looking out for their own bottom line is making this. I feel like they're making it the statement publicly, kind of to elevate their own profile, right? And he's the lamb that they're slaughtering. But in response to that, if he has ardent enough fans, he can just rally them and just say, okay, well, my next album or my next single or whatever is available for $1 per. And in theory, he can make more money by cutting out the middleman.
Hopefully.
So I feel kind of both. I feel like it's okay. I feel like that record label they're entitled to make their fiscal decision the way that they want to, and their messaging and their public relations statement. And he's entitled to kind of respond to it however he wants to and rally his troops however he wants to. I feel like at once we're in this perilous time that you just described where everybody's head is on the chopping block. But secondly, you're free to kind of do whatever you want and rally your fans, and you have enough platforms to access them directly. Trump doesn't now because he's been canceled on all those platforms.
But that's the crazy thing. I mean, and Angela Merkel, Germany's chancellor, did you read her statement?
No.
She even came out and said, this is an extremely dangerous precedent to ban Trump from Twitter, right? For big tech to be in charge of our speech. I mean, something's going to have to change from this. I hear what you're saying, and this is the line that I hear a lot on NPR, et cetera, is that, hey man, the First Amendment does not protect your speech from private companies. That is the government. You can say what you want, and the government can't bust you down for it, to a degree, or whatever that degree is, where it's,
right.
Inciting violence or whatever's shouting fire in a, crowded theater, or whatever the stopping points are. But where we don't live in the government space as much as we live in the private space, and private companies should be recognizing that, hey, free speech is something that is important, even if our, a band we hired, our employee, or whatever, we should, as Americans, free speech should still be a value for us, where it's just not anymore. Like, if I don't like what you're saying, then you are canceled. And if you're my employee and I don't like it, then I'll fire you. And everybody will say, well, yeah, totally. That guy was a Trumper. He deserved it.
But if you expected Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey to be making moral decisions for all of us, you already failed.
I mean, that's the problem. That we failed as a society.
Yes.
We have allowed them to do that, and that needs to change. I don't know how that changes, but that needs to change.
We abandoned those values a long time ago, and we allowed them to kind of be our method of communication and feed us all our information and all that. So my thought was, Trump has violated the terms and service of Twitter for years, since he started using Twitter, okay? If it was you or I, we would have been reprimanded multiple times and then ultimately kicked off the platform had we been using it the way that he's been using it. That's well documented. But I feel like Twitter made a fiscal decision, which was, we're getting more press out of this than we ever could have paid for. So for 4 years, they were making fiscal decisions. There was no morality in it. It was strictly, we're going to elevate our platform using this guy who is breaking the terms of services. It got to a point last week where they recognized we can continue to make the right fiscal decision by now banning him. Facebook made a certain measure. We're going to one-up them. They got the headline for 24 hours. We're now going to one-up Facebook and take the story back and continue to elevate our platform by now making an even big, again, still a fiscal decision.
Sure.
That's all that this was.
I mean,
and
completely.
There's no reference to morality. There's no
free speech,
concern about free speech.
Nothing.
It's none of that.
But
it's strictly thinking about shareholders.
But all of those things, I mean, I think in the wake of this time, though, it's time for big tech to get busted up. I mean, monopoly break and it's over, right?
I mean,
I think.
Yes. Well, if Congress had the time to lift their heads above water to actually address this real talk, they would.
Yeah.
But they're too busy trying to address the pandemic, too busy trying to defend against the insurrection at the Capitol. Like, they don't have time to actually do the real business that they should be doing, which I think you're absolutely right about. Like, we're living in a space where kind of regulating this sort of a thing is now as important as regulating tobacco was in the 80s.
Or regulating, big oil, like breaking up standard or,
Totally.
or, big electric, like
Completely.
where it is, they have a monopoly now on our speech and are dictating what we can say. And it's well past time for that to stop.
They are literally defending against a shirtless Viking who is sitting in the throne. I mean, that's the moment that we're at.
Yeah.
And it's insane.
Insane.
So, anyways, Ariel Pink. Wow.
So
Good luck, Ariel Pink. I don't even know. Here's the other thing I always think about is I run everything through a filter of, is there no such thing as bad publicity,
Sure.
right? I didn't know who Ariel Pink was before.
Now you know.
The next time he pops up and he has a song, I'm probably going to listen to it.
And
I never would have before.
And just think how many people, I mean, this is a relatively small subsection, but we've talked about him here. He was in the newspaper. It was, headlines, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I suppose if you're set up to capitalize on that publicity, but the news cycle quickly goes away, right? And so if you're not capitalizing in that moment, then off you go.
How could you not be?
Well, I mean, because maybe he didn't know, and so he gets dropped, and then he's like, "Oh man, I should have had a single ready to push out in this moment right here to point people to, I should have had my ducks in a row." But if you don't have your ducks in a row, nobody cares. You maybe if you're lucky. I mean, he's got a week, I suppose, out of this now because we talked about it today. But nobody cares.
I'll forget about him in 2 weeks.
Totally, everyone will, unless he does something to get your attention.
I thought he was like an acrobat or something.
No.
Ariel Pink.
Should be.
I honestly thought, I thought it was actually a female. I was like, is that a stripper? Like, but
maybe should be also.
He can rebrand,
as a stripper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ariel Pink got canceled. The Proud Boy, chapter leader in Oahu got arrested.
Everybody
He came back.
Yep.
Let's transition into novelty surfing.
Let's do it.
I think we could do a full show on novelty surfing.
Where do you, because I was really trying to think about it so the story you're referencing, Chuck Patterson, self-described, or his website describes him as what?
Multidisciplinary.
I was really trying to think of what the it claims he excels at all 7 disciplines of what I'm assuming was extreme sports. And remember Nike 6.0?
I do.
There were the 6.0, you remember, stood for the 6 points of action sports.
Yeah.
Which I do believe was surf, skate, snowboarding, or snow in general, moto,
BMX maybe?
BMX, yeah, inline skating, something else.
Inline skating?
No, I don't think that was there. But there was 6.
Whatever was hot that year.
There was 6,
Razoring.
which I cannot remember even the 6th. Much less have no even concept what the 7th is. Is it like wingsuiting? Is it?
Okay, so I think honestly, Chuck Patterson has chosen these fringe things because there's less competition.
Sure.
In them. Like I can be the best kite foiler because there's no competition.
Yeah.
The best surf ski.
He's by far the best big wave skier.
And then I can claim I'm the best in the world at 7 different things.
He is. He is the best big wave skier by far. He's skied Jaws. Now he's skied Mavericks.
So I would like to say right out of the gates, because a lot of this is going to sound like we're making fun of Chuck Patterson. I would like to say right out of the gates, I'm not making fun. It's super impressive.
So
everything the dude does is very impressive.
Oh, I mean, he's super fit. He's paddling.
Great looking.
Yeah, paddling. I think he paddles, doesn't he? Doesn't paddle into the ski waves. He gets towed. But I think he also surfs big waves, which I think he paddles. And I know he skis big mountains, so he's a phenomenal skier. I assume a competent big wave surfer. And also gets towed into Mavericks waves on skis, which brings us back to Ben Gravy.
Okay.
Novelty.
Yeah.
You in or out? It's time to
Novelty
reassess.
in general.
Novelty and surfing. Novelty surfing. Tanker waves, skiing on waves, Jamie O'Brien riding an inflatable couch at Pipeline, any kind of
I'm out.
Any kind of whimsy.
I'm out.
Whimsical surfing.
I love that these guys are having fun. I think it's actually detrimental to our experience as a whole because it influences people to go do shenanigans.
So you are not a fan. Let me get this straight. You are not a fan of
I'm definitely not a fan.
Jackass in the surf.
Look, me personally, definitely not a fan. I don't have any kind of interest in watching it, firstly. So it's not entertaining me.
Did you watch Chuck Patterson's Cutback on his skis?
Yeah, I did in preparation for this show so that we could have something to talk about. But it's not entertaining to me. All the ones that you just named, Ben Gravy, tanker surfing, Jamie O'Brien on a couch at Pipeline, Chuck Patterson surf skiing at Mavericks and doing a cutback, none of it is entertaining. And it tends to infiltrate my life in certain ways where I'll paddle out on a decent day and people are on soft tops doing shenanigans.
Ooh, do you see soft top shenanigans in Huntington?
Yeah,
Ooh.
Totally.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Finless wave storms.
That's true.
Three people trying to do stuff together.
I've seen multiple good days, somebody on a wave storm continually taking off backwards.
Yeah.
Like fin first,
Totally.
take off, nonstop.
So,
on a decent day.
So that's my personal experience with these novelty shenanigans. So I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm entirely out too. On my dislike of whimsy, I don't like anything whimsical, especially not whimsical surfing. I don't like where novelty really rubs me raw is also when it's entirely not functional. Like, why are you skiing that wave?
Exactly.
You should, if skiing provided some kind of, you could do something different. You could take off deeper. You could go faster. For example, on Beach Grit a couple weeks ago, I do believe now, the guy riding the surf mat, super fast. You saw that?
Yeah.
Amazing. That's not novelty. That guy was going like 120 kilometers an hour passing surfers on a surf mat. There was function there, right? There was pure speed function. If there's no function to the novelty,
Right.
get rid of it.
Kai Lenny foil boarding, big waves in windy jaws or whatever.
There's function there.
Yeah, of course. The foil is above the chop of the water.
Yep.
So even Tom Curran riding Super Dave, he's
Getting a feeling
that he will then try to translate back to a more functional surfboard.
Yep.
So there's a function to any of that stuff. I agree with you.
I mean, there's a function to like riding Aliyahs. Or Aliyahs, or however you pronounce it. Is it Aliyah or
Aliyah?
Aliyah. I'm not just standard thruster here. You could do what you want as long as there's a function to it. And the function cannot be having fun or being different.
That's where I feel like Ben Gravy, not Jamie O'Brien so much, but Ben Gravy and Chuck Patterson found a loophole where it's like, is Chuck Patterson going to contend with Laird for Laird's position? Probably can't take down Laird. So let me pick a different lane. I'm just going to pick this lane where it's kind of my own lane and I can do my own things and have my own audience and dominate it. And so and bravo, he figured it out. I mean, to a certain extent, he's not nearly as popular as Laird.
I mean, but makes, headlines. For
Exactly.
He made headlines skiing at Mavericks.
And in theory, presumably he's been making a living as a sponsored athlete adventurer for 20 or 30 years based on that exact thing.
Did you know he hails from or lives in Dana Point?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We should get Chuck Patterson on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to actually figure out what's going on. What's your awareness of him? I mean, how familiar with him are you?
I am familiar with him or am reacquainted with him once every 4 years when he skis a wave. So
it's working.
Yeah.
It's totally working.
But like in fits and starts because he doesn't keep my attention the rest. I totally forget about him until I see him skiing another wave. And then I think, Chuck Patterson.
I followed him on Instagram so as not to fall into that same trap.
Okay, so you want to be aware of Chuck Patterson for the year?
I do.
You want to see what he's doing, see what he's up to? Yeah.
Well, I had a thought. I was like, why have I not tracked him as well as maybe I've tracked Laird? And the reason is because I grew up with a magazine paradigm, and I just followed whoever the magazines told me about, and he never fit into the magazines.
Well,
they never told me about him.
We're going to have a new segment week on the show is what Chuck Patterson did last week, and I'm going to ask you, hey, what did Chuck Patterson do last week? And you're going to inform us all what Chuck Patterson did. We're going to keep him in the consciousness moving forward.
Right now, we won't even be able to dream up things as crazy as what he will actually do.
I bet there's going to be a lot of skin diving, like maybe some deep skin diving. There's going to be some
rollerblading down a rock face.
Probably. I think there's going to be like some full gainers off high cliffs into crystalline water.
That's too predictable. But full gainers off of high cliffs into a patch of snow.
But how novel do you think, aside from skiing big waves, how novel is Chuck Patterson's life? Is that the one novel thing he does? Or is it because his website made him sound like he is sort of an all-around waterman adventure guy,
And snow.
And snow, yeah.
Yeah.
All-around waterman and big mountain adventure guy. And so I'm going to not look to Chuck Patterson's Instagram, but I'm going to gamble that it's mostly normal, big mountain, big wave stuff with some full gainers thrown in.
So is the mountain stuff that he's doing as novel as the water stuff that he's doing?
No.
He seems like he's straight snowboarding.
No, he skis.
Oh, he skis.
Yeah,
that
he's a skier.
Sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But it's pretty straightforward, right?
I think so. Again, I have not visited his Instagram, but he should be, I guess by rights, riding a big wave gun on a mountain.
That would make perfect sense.
I mean, that would close the loop, as they say. Yeah.
That would be amazing. Now, since you haven't visited his Instagram, and I have, I will tell you, there is a lot of selfies. There's, 50-something-year-old man taking a lot of selfies.
Like selfie angle, camera out, looking at the camera, selfie mode on.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I haven't run the numbers, but we could easily draw up a graph that equates selfies with more traction on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's proven at this point. And lots of times it's, I think it started with the teenage female kind of, but it's certainly breached into, 55-year-old action figure male adventurer who's doing it and being embraced by it too. But if the point I'm getting at is if his feed didn't have selfies, I would argue he would have half the number of followers.
Oh, for sure.
There is a direct correlation between putting a photo of your face on your account and gaining more followers and more engagement.
More engagement, for sure. I mean, how often do you post a self-portrait?
Rare. I mean,
or not
honestly,
just a selfie, but a picture of you.
I mean, rarely. Very rarely, and I do it with a lot of discomfort.
But do you get many comments, et cetera, when you post a picture of yourself?
I don't know.
I think you do. I bet if you look back,
I think I probably do.
I bet you get more engagement on those posts, comment-wise, than others.
Yeah. So I look at Chuck's thing as kind of a business experiment, which is how does he make a living, first of all? Through sponsorships. And so if that is true, those sponsors want exposure. And if they want exposure, you got to post selfies, you'll get more exposure, your sponsors will be happier. So if your life is your business.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck Patterson, I would imagine, that is his business, is Chuck Patterson. So you better be self-promoting Chuck Patterson to whatever extent you can.
I don't know. So if we do ever have him on the podcast, I don't know if it's couth to ask this of him.
For sure.
Which is your lifestyle underwritten by your parent or like your wealthy family or something? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because all of those things are wildly expensive to do.
Let's assume that he lives in Dana Point. Let's assume that he comes from some sort of wealth.
Okay.
I think that's a correct assumption to make.
Because even if you are, and to be raised skiing probably, he started, I think on his website he said he started when he was 2.5 years old doing these things. So yeah, if you're living by a beach and going on regular ski trips, then yes, that's probably a fair assumption. But all of those things, foil boards are super expensive. Yeah. The wind surfing thing, it's expensive. And so to not only, if you're making a living doing it, from sponsors, you're probably not making a great enough living to then go hella skiing in Japan.
Yeah.
And then go to Maui to go the wind thing the next week and all that sort of stuff. So, but I also love, could be a topic of discussion. centering your life around having fun.
Yeah.
It never even dawned on me that you could do that.
Yeah.
I just realized my youth was for kind of having fun and exercising, and then I have to transition into getting a job and working for a living. And I might have been wrong. I don't know that that was a correct thing for me to.
Should you, okay, if you could go back and redo and reset, get on the sled and ski and reset, what would you do? What would you be doing today?
Geez, I don't know.
Would you be skiing Mavericks?
No, I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
I really want to have. I mean, let's be honest, my life hasn't been terrible. I worked in wine.
Yeah.
Which is a luxury commodity and also kind of decent lifestyle, fun and decent lifestyle. And I've worked in surfing. So both things are fun. I haven't had it rough, but I still have a responsibility to earn a living. Like, I don't have a trust fund. I don't have like.
So if you could get on the ski and reset, you would have rich parents.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I mean, to be honest, I hate to answer the question this way, but I might have even tried harder at school. Like gotten an MBA, I didn't take school very seriously. I feel like there's certain things that if you do the hard work up front, it pays dividends on the back end.
But really though?
I don't know.
I
don't know, dude.
I think all you'd be doing there, if you tried harder, you'd be in a job now. You'd be
You're probably right.
Lawyer, not a cool lawyer in the courtroom, but like one doing like, I don't know, property taxes or something like that. And you'd be making a lot of money and it'd be cool. You'd have 2 weeks of vacation and you'd go surf, but otherwise your life would be not the greatest.
I agree. I don't know that I would have done that much differently now that I'm really thinking about it, because the lifestyle that I've been able to live through my 20s and my 30s, I work hard, but it's all kind of infused with the things that I'm passionate about. So the lifestyle in my 20s and 30s has been as good as, if not better than, a lot of people's retirement lifestyle. I've been able to travel, eat well, drink well, surf pretty regularly. Like
the best part of what we're doing too, we're never going to be able to retire. That's the best part. We can keep doing this till 88 years old,
which we'll be forced to.
Exactly. We won't have a choice.
But I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the Chuck Pattersons of the world who have centered their life around having fun.
Do you think Timmy Patterson is happy that I confuse Chuck Patterson with Timmy Patterson every time Chuck Patterson's name gets in the news? I think
Timmy doesn't have one opinion about that.
I think, look at this surfboard shaper just getting it.
Timmy is not, his happiness is not affected by your
Chuck
thought about Chuck Patterson. Are they related?
That's a good question. They both
Maybe
live here.
Distantly.
Yeah. Patterson's a common name, but truly, every time Chuck Patterson's name comes up, I think he's in my mind. I crossed Chuck Dent and Timmy Patterson.
No way.
Yeah. And
forgot about Chuck Dent.
Yeah.
Now, my other thought about, did we say that he skied Mavericks on the Day of Days? Did we say that at the beginning of this story? Because if not, we buried the lead.
I mean, we did bury the lead. I think it came up, but yeah.
We mentioned that he surf skied.
Yeah.
He surf skied Mavericks on Sunday.
On the day that Pete Mel, was it the same day that Pete Mel caught his wave of all waves?
Yeah.
So the day of all days at Mavericks, which somebody commented in Beach Grid. I can't remember who. I should do a better job of remembering who comments what. It's a great comment. Like imagine you're sitting out there, going to paddle in for a wave, and there's people actually towing at this point, right? Because Chuck got towed in. There's a helicopter overhead. There's all this. You're just out there trying to, a day of all days at Mavericks, totally obviously paddleable for those, it was not a tow only day, but I think there was a couple people towing, right?
Yeah.
I think Justine DuPont was towing. Who else was towing?
In that clip, John Mel, Pete Mel's son, gets towed into the first one.
Yep.
Trevor Carlson, I think, gets the second one, and then Chuck's on the third one.
We haven't heard tow paddle beef in a while, I don't think. Remember decade ago?
Yeah.
Less? There was real, I feel almost fisticuffs in the lineup between towers and paddlers, which it seems like it's all kind of gone away, but were the people out there paddling furious, or is it such a brotherhood at this point where they all know each other and they all know that they paddle? Like John Mel, Pete's kid, for sure paddles into waves, right?
Yeah, he did that day.
Yeah, and it's not like he can't, it's just, so he's having fun doing this also. Is that what they all think? Like, oh yeah, we're all having fun.
I think
together.
The paddle surfers took priority essentially.
Okay.
Like the trend evolved away from tow as being kind of the cool thing, or just what everybody was chasing. And a lot of there's a lot of overlap in those communities as well.
So if you're driving a ski out there, is the ski driver cruising around through the lineup with the surfer yelling, hey, can like wave me in to whoever the bosses are out there, Pete Mel or whatever, and then like everyone agrees in the lineup, okay, this is or the people who matter.
If Pete's sitting out there on a paddle gun, the tow surfers give way.
So they give way, but like at some point you're both committed. And so what? The ski driver peels out once they see Pete actually paddling?
I think there's different waves that you're going for too.
Okay.
So, and I think once it gets to a certain size, it's unpaddleable, and that's when the skis become priority. And it was teetering on that point on Sunday.
But how do they, I mean, to me, that seems like a real snap decision. Is this too big to paddle? Like you see a guy paddling head down, but you think there's no way he's going to make that. I mean, do you just whip around him? I mean, what are I suppose we need to have a big wave Maverick surfer on to explain the etiquette of tow versus paddle.
My thought is Pete also towed that day. As the swell's increasing, he kind of makes the decision, this last set was too big to paddle. I'm going to go back to the boat and jump on the ski.
Okay.
Put my
reset.
Yeah, put my paddle board away, which Britt Merrick shaped, by the way.
I read that.
I surfed with Britt yesterday.
Fantastic.
Interviewed and surfed with. And then...
is that what you're doing up in Slow?
Yeah. I was on my way down and then connected with him in Carpinteria.
Britt is such a fantastic human being.
Really?
Yeah.
Totally. So my other question with that day of days is 50-year-old dudes ruled the day.
They did.
And
Chuck and Pete.
Chuck, Pete, and then who else was I thinking about recently that fits in that?
Was Flea out there?
No. Yeah, well, Chuck and Pete for sure. But what a time that we're living in where, I mean, it makes me rethink fitness entirely.
Well, but here's the thing. It shouldn't. Let's be honest. What do you need to surf a big wave? You need like
30 years experience,
brute dad strength, and enough kind of thick dad bod to push over the lip. I mean, that's it. Like, and obviously intense bravery and all this stuff. But really, like sort of dad strength, dad bod are huge assets in big wave surfing.
There's no denying old man strength. Like if you just shake a grandpa's hand, you're
strong.
Like, what?
Put her in the vise.
What?
Yeah.
You look feeble.
We've talked about this. Do you want to know where this comes from?
Lifting babies.
Yeah, we've talked about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think yes.
Lifting I mean, it's like a frog boiling in water. You're lifting your baby who's super light initially, and I still carry my kid when she gets tired and she's 8, right?
Yeah.
So you just do this gradual frog boiling in water thing where all of a sudden, and imagine Pete, he's probably carried his son John after that day. He probably carried him to the car, put him in the back seat.
How long are you going to carry Hemi? She's 8. When does it top off?
I mean, I feel you can go into early teens, right? With like a piggyback ride, like tired legs.
So you go from a front carry to a back carry.
Which you're just strengthening all over. Cross training. Huh. That's where dad strength comes from.
How many kids does Chuck have? Because that guy's ripped.
Does he have some?
He's probably got 4 kids, carrying all of them at once.
He probably carries them while he skis.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed by those guys' fitness, and it does make me, I was talking about counting calories last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to start layering in new activities because of these guys.
But you should also start upping your calorie load. Have you seen Pete Mel lately?
Is he thick?
He's thick. He's not fat.
I actually saw him in person 2 days ago.
He's not fat at all, but he is not a trim man.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't look at him.
He used to be really slight.
He did, but he's just got like dad thickness.
Yeah.
I mean, he is dad thick.
Yeah.
He covers it well with a flannel.
And a 4 mil wetsuit.
Yeah.
You know? But I would argue that what allows those guys to do what they do kind of at a level that Nathan Florence wasn't. He was out there at Mavericks too, and he wasn't able to perform. He didn't get the wave that Pete Mel got.
Cocaine.
30 years. 30 years of experience out there.
Sure.
I mean, to find that chip shot, to be able to navigate it the way that he navigated it is, you couldn't luck into that.
But honestly, look at little Nathan Florence. a slight willowy man, right? Imagine the force you need to get down that wave face. Pete Mel's got it in spades. Dense bones that are just like consolidating before they snap.
Yep.
Like he's like a black hole of a man.
Yeah.
Just dense weight.
I'm impressed.
Totally impressive.
Whatever he's doing, I'm all in.
But watch, Nathan Florence is going to be paddling into even bigger waves at 50.
Yeah, exactly. Because he will have that much experience and bone density. See, but I think your bones get less dense when you.
Oh yeah,
maybe he's drinking Ensure. Calcium buildup. I was gonna send this to you yesterday. A listener sent it to me. So a notification on his iPhone yesterday. So the date being January 13th at 8:16 a.m. Then the notification that pops up.
It says WSL Fantasy Update. Last chance to register for the Billabong Pipe Masters presented by Hydro Flask. Again, proof in point that Eric Logan, CEO Eric Logan, is running all jobs, from the pressing send on the notification to printing jerseys to getting COVID and shuttering the whole thing. He's doing it all.
It's crazy,
all
right?
by himself. Yeah.
I mean, we make fun of the WSL. I mean, certainly point out criticisms, and it's worse than we even really point out. Like, this literally is a push notification from the WSL's app telling you to register your fantasy surf team for the Billabong Pipe Masters,
which wrapped
that took
over
place
over
a month ago. What is going on?
Can we talk WSL for a minute right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been hearing from multiple sources that, so WSL got shuttered in Hawaii, chose, I suppose, to cancel Santa Cruz because they could have, can't hold sporting events in California restrictions. So I'm sure in abundance of caution, they shut down Santa Cruz, right?
Yeah.
Decided to restart the 2021 World Tour in Australia, April 1st at Bells Beach, correct?
Yep.
So now I've heard multiple sources from multiple angles saying there's no way this is going to go off because Australia's quarantine restrictions are so severe that what will happen is, or what will have to happen per the rule of law, I think Maurice Cole was one of these people in the Beach Creek comments, but apparently the surfers have to come into Australia. They have to quarantine in their hotel room for 2 weeks. They are not allowed to leave for 2 weeks.
Which a lot of them are right now coming back from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wade Carmichael's locked up. Connor O'Leary's locked up in hotel rooms.
Yeah, so I suppose if every surfer from around the globe goes now, but then he was saying that they're not going to be allowed to freely surf. You know, they'll be allowed to surf their heats and then have to go back to the hotel room. All of this sounded draconian in a way that is unbelievable. There's no way Australia is that. I mean, I believe that Australia is that quarantined and serious and whatever, but for once, I'm going to say I'm a believer that Bells is going to go off.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't see,
is the WSL the entity that will kind of be the tip of the spear for this sort of a thing?
I mean, I think by April, so we're looking at 3+ months, right? And who knows the way the world will look in 3+ months. So it is definitely not going, or definitely, I don't know, but hard to imagine that it's going to be as bad and serious as it is right now, correct?
Not really hard to imagine.
I mean, there's going to be there is vaccine, blah, 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 blah.
But there's the new UK strain, and then there's a new strain.
Sure.
But they just found, I think, in California.
But at some point, people are going to have to sort of loosen up.
That's what I would have thought 6 months ago.
Of course.
You know,
and I get it. But also, so I get that the Australian or the surfers will have to go. They'll have to quarantine. Again, WSL should have hired us years ago. I don't know why they just don't do a bubble, why they don't say, okay, all pro surfers, we are renting this hotel. There can be no visitors there, unfortunately. If you want to surf in the contest, no visitors, you all can come, but you can hang out with each other, right? We're even going to film it for fun. This is going to be the surfer bubble. Great content, right? Imagine they get a hotel, and it doesn't even have to stinking be at Bells if nobody can surf. You can get a hotel, because that's what Maurice Cole was saying too, is you think you're going to be able to get a hotel room in at Torquay for Easter. There's absolutely no way, right? So screw it. Okay, put him up in Melbourne, film it all, call it the Surfer Bubble, release it as fun content, but force them this 2-week thing. And then once they're there in Australia, quarantine for 2 weeks, then move them to some other bubble somewhere and run the show.
So you're right. They could do something like that on April 1st, but not in Australia.
I mean, so
it could happen somewhere in the world.
So you got to put money on the line here. Are you saying that Bells is going to be a go, or Bells is going to be a no-go, or Bells is going to go and then get canceled?
It'll be a no-go.
I'm going to say go.
No, we need to figure out a wager.
Yeah.
I feel very confident that they will not go on April 1st.
I feel confident that they will go. I feel confident that surfing is a bigger deal to Australian at a governmental level. Like the Australian government has money in here. I don't think that it's going to be on the intelligence or even competency of the World Surf League. But I think that Surf Australia probably has some competent people there, and they'll work it out. It'll go.
Okay. Mark our words.
Yes.
We'll figure out a wager. Here's another thing that popped up in the last week. The PGA is in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So how can the PGA pull it off and the WSL not?
I mean, I've been crowing for weeks about it, but I think it is Eric Logan himself is responsible for what has happened to pro surfing in general, and also responsible for what happened to pro surfing in Hawaii. Without his COVID positive and then the dumbass way that he went about it, they would be surfing sunset tomorrow.
Totally.
Is it tomorrow? Next week, whenever, the 19th.
The 19th, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look,
and they would be doing the Pipe Pro and the backdoor shootout. Eric Logan himself totally wrecked it.
The weird thing was the canceling the event for the 5 days, which again we thought was regulated or like a mandate from the government.
He came out and
then him saying that no, that was his decision makes absolutely no sense, because if the business can still run despite the contraction, then run the business and have a successful quote unquote kind of business event, or like that is the purpose of the business. So make that the priority. And the fact that they didn't do that was, it undermines doing number two. The
delay only threw a brighter spotlight on the bungling,
right?
Which I think, again, it's all a PR issue. I mean, COVID, I think, or response to COVID is as much health and safety as it is public relations, right?
Yeah.
Like Hawaii's economy is still very much tourist dependent. And so if the feeling is COVID is running rampant over there because of sports stuff, then a tourist may not come, right? And so the publicity brought on by the World Surf League was not good for Hawaii. That's why it got canned, I think. And if Eric would have figured out, okay, who did I see, or contact tracing, who was I with? Let's quarantine those people until they have, a double negative test or whatever. But let's let the show go on. Unless he was just like out mingling with all the surfers, which would be, what an asshole move that would be.
Right.
If he was putting himself in the middle of stuff, silly.
It's wild.
Gotta go.
Sorry,
really Eric Logan. Fired.
There's not a lot of other explanations for the way that the whole thing played out.
You're fired. I'm going to take Trump's patented "you're fired" and start using it.
So speaking of Hawaii golf, Kelly Slater
and President Barack H. Obama
posting a video selfie with Barack Obama,
shouting out Anderson .Paak. Yeah, what did you think when you saw that?
Did
you think Kelly Slater is so much more powerful than I ever imagined? Or did you think
I did?
Or did you think Barack Obama is so much sillier than I ever imagined?
He's slumming it?
Yeah.
No, because we know that Barack was born in Hawaii.
Sure.
And that he stand-up paddles and bodyboards.
Goes there regularly on family vacations.
I've never seen him stand-up surfing, but he's obviously enjoys the surf kind of lifestyle or adjacent lifestyle. And so I would argue he has an awareness of who Kelly Slater is.
For sure. That's not surprising to me.
So when I think they just happen to cross paths.
No, this is what the wife said too. You don't happen to cross paths with a ex-president with a large secret security detail.
I'm not saying they're like
they went golfing
Obama's
together.
waiting for Kelly to tee off.
They went golfing together.
How do you know? Because that's your presumption.
Because there's no way you bump into an ex-president. Like Obama may have, I guess they may have been. I highly doubt that there was anybody even golfing that day besides Obama. Like ex-presidents, the security detail that goes in there.
Yeah.
Like
they clear the course.
They clear the course, or at least enough of the course where he's not like seeing Kelly through, 3 greens over. Oh, Kelly.
Right.
So
right.
I will say they went, I'm sure they are in communication with each other, right? So I would imagine now, clearly, they email or text or something. They know each other. Set up a tee time. Kelly, hey, Barack, I'm in Hawaii too. Let's go golf. So worked it out, went golfing together, and then are doing like whimsical shout out videos to their bros.
Barack seemed like they weren't hanging out. It seemed like they were on kind of different agendas or playing, let's say, with different groups.
Okay.
And so Barack leaned in for the shout out to Anderson .Paak and then was on his way. So what if your scenario...
My scenario is their bros.
Well, they do clear the course.
Yeah.
But there's a group of like Barack's on the island. There's a bunch of dignitaries and maybe celebrities who kind of want to spend time with them. They're like, okay, well, we'll do it on the golf course. We'll play a round of golf. And there's tier A people that you're going to kind of be around. Tier B, we'll allocate a little, maybe we'll have lunch with everybody.
I mean, but that's...
So Kelly is playing a different hole and they do cross paths, but it's organized kind of from a PR level.
Well, this would be really easy to solve. All we have to do is search hashtag Barack Obama and see if there were other people on the golf course with Barack that day.
Yeah.
Because there will be a lot of selfies or a lot of photographic evidence of that happening.
I think I just can't imagine your version where it's like they're playing in a foursome together.
They seemed way too chummy. The way Barack leaned in, my friend Kelly here, the whole thing was way too chummy to be like, Kelly did not look starstruck. Barack Obama seemed completely comfortable with what was happening. There seemed to be a genuine rapport and friendship. Like Kelly was turning the camera off. Okay, see you later, bud. To Anderson .Paak, turning the camera off to like laugh more with Barack and make fun of each other's shots. Like they seemed to be hanging out.
See, I didn't read it that way. I thought it was.
Watch again and think these guys are hanging out.
I'm impressed by Kelly.
I am disappointed by Barack. Just kidding, Kelly. But it did cheapen Barack to me, seeing him like, wait a second, what is this silliness? But good on Kelly.
I don't think it cheapens Barack at all because Kelly is the 11-time world champion. Like
he is the world's greatest surfer.
Yeah, I mean, that is who wouldn't want to?
And not that I think necessarily super highly of Barack, but I guess having a dignitary, like if I saw Kelly kicking it with the Queen of England, I'd be like, oh, Queen, what are you doing? Not because it's Kelly, but you're supposed to be sort of above it.
Yeah.
And so the chummy shout out thing with Kelly Slater.
But that's Barack's brand. Barack's brand was the president that you'd want to have a beer with.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Oh man, G-Dub was the president I wanted to have a beer with.
I love how you're not impressed by Kelly, not impressed by Barack.
Yeah.
Like who would impress you?
If Kelly Slater said, hey,
who could Kelly take a selfie with?
My friend George W. Bush is here on the golf course and G-Dub stuck his head in, I'd be like, that is a power move right there.
G-Dub has done nothing on his own strength. He literally was foisted into political power by his family's leverage. He had zero interest in being a president. He had zero moxie. He had zero ambition. He was just like, I guess since you guys are pushing me from behind, I'll stand here.
I'll tell you that the George W. Bush biography is my dream book to write. If I could go spend time with one public figure, not even one American president, not even one politician, one public figure, anybody. I could spend time with the Queen, could spend time with George Clooney and write a book. I would pick George W. Bush.
I see why.
George Walker.
He's very interesting.
The frat boy he was funny too. People just got mad and said he was dumb. He was funny.
Was he the butt of the joke or the instigator of the joke? Did he know that he was funny?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He was like, I'm sure he was the funniest dude in his frat. I'm sure he was the funniest dude in his college.
Was he a Kyle in the frat or a Chad? You know what I mean? Like,
no,
he's sculling a beer for a joke, but there isn't a lot of sophistication to the joke.
I bet there was a lot more sophisticated. I think he was playing at multiple levels, right? He's playing at I Have Family Legacy. He's playing at Running Away from That Legacy. He's playing at, I mean, maybe I've just watched, did you watch and or like, was the movie W, the one with Josh Brolin?
I never watched it.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Oliver
Stone's W, yeah, where Josh Brolin plays G-Dub.
I'll watch it. I like Oliver Stone.
Yeah, it's worthy of a watch.
Okay.
I'm going to go rewatch it tonight. Yeah,
Okay.
G-Dub. That's the one I would love just to spend. He's a painter now, paints portraits.
No way.
Yeah.
Are they good?
Yeah, I mean, he has like art shows and stuff.
What?
Look at his paintings.
How much does a portrait from G-Dub cost?
I don't know, but I hope that after I write his biography, I get one.
Have you seen Jim Carrey's portraiture?
Oh no, is that good?
Really good.
Huh?
Like really good.
Like how much would you buy a Carrey for?
I mean, I want it. I'm not in the market, but they're massive scale.
Yeah.
Like just massive scale, and they're really well done.
Imagine if you're a Jim Carrey and people know you for being Jim Carrey, but you also have a phenomenal talent as an artist. Would you attach a different name to your artwork just so people, because I think people they would think, oh, look at Ace Ventura painted that, right? Which, I mean, you would almost have to take a pen name for your art.
Yeah, or they'd give extra kind of kudos to it because you're Jim Carrey.
Maybe.
Like you look at Bob Dylan's artwork and it's terrible.
Yeah,
it looks
Bob
like
Dylan.
a third grader did it.
Yeah.
But people love it and they spend a bunch of money because Bob Dylan did it.
But Bob Dylan is also considered an artist.
True.
Where Jim Carrey, I don't think is considered an artist, right? He's considered a comedian, maybe an actor at best, but not.
Which, those are arts. I mean, those are liberal arts.
For sure they are. And Jim Carrey has done serious film too.
Yeah.
But I think if you walk down San Clemente and ask people what's a Jim Carrey movie, 9 out of 10 would say Ace Ventura.
For sure. Dumb and Dumber, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, the Jerry Seinfeld show, where he interviews Jim and picks him up at his home studio and they go get coffee. And at the end of the episode, he drops him back off and they go inside and look at some of his stuff. That's where I was first introduced to it, but I've seen it pop up in news occasionally since then. And I remember being like blown away at how like actually disciplined. You know, there's one thing that is just like, here's an artistic expression, but there's another thing about understanding like the technique of applying paint to a canvas and things like that. Like he was seemed like he was trained, like very professional about his art, but then also the artistic expression side of it was really kind of profound.
Do you think if you're a Jim Carrey and you have either a talent for painting or at least an enjoyment and a talent, do you then invite over, whoever, stinking, what's his dude? Julian Schnabel. Hey, Julian, come over and talk art with Julian Schnabel, get some pointers, like invite over famous artists and like glean, basically take your art major.
Well, you would use your celebrity to then hang out with people in this other sphere that you love and admire.
Yeah.
You know who's another fascinating figure to me from that world is Dennis Hopper.
Oh yeah, Dennis Hopper made some beautiful paintings.
Amazing, and he's
wasn't he a photographer too?
Yeah,
yeah.
But he was a huge collector and supporter of art in general. But a fascinating figure. Every once in a while, like there's been a few documentaries that have been made about him.
Have you ever watched Heart of Darkness?
Yeah,
the doco about Apocalypse Now. Yeah, he's very interesting in that one.
Totally. Kelly and Obama, coming back to that, in your article about that, you talked about who your most famous friend is, which is, of course, Scott Kahn. What?
I loved the comments on that. Like, the comments
they were hilarious.
The best. Like, Negatron, for sure, met Prince Charles because he was plumbing the bathroom. Did you read that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, plumbing the bathroom of that the Queen was going to use, so met Prince Charles in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Great. There was such great famous friends or famous adjacent friends in there. It was very, very, very fun to read.
Hilarious commentary about the adjacency.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, this one time I did this.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Prince Charles, another really fascinating derelict that is venerated.
Have you watched The Crown, the season with Prince Charles?
Yes.
I started The Crown and loved it. and did not have any support in the home for continuing. But
mine's the opposite. I had no support for Lauren watching it, but I just caught glimpses occasionally, and it hooked me. And the Prince Charles thing, I was like, oh my God, this guy is a full Daryl.
I gotta go start The Crown from ground up again. I gotta force the family to watch The Crown.
Yeah. All right. So in that article, you talk about Scott Conn. You also talk about Alyssa Milano.
Alyssa Milano parked her car. I rifled through her purse.
No way.
Yeah.
She left her purse in the car
She
with
did.
a valet?
Yeah. She left the purse on the front seat in the car, rifled through it, stole some quarters and a stick of gum.
Shut up.
How rude is that of me?
How old were you?
Probably old enough to know better. Probably 20.
Anybody who trusts valets?
Oh my goodness. Never trust a valet.
I mean,
if you can self-park,
so
self-park.
Yeah, always.
My brother and I worked together. It was a private valet company, so it would work, mostly parties in Malibu or in the Hollywood Hills. We both liked the parties in Malibu because we would take Lamborghinis and play bumper cars before we parked. We would race up and down and hit each other's bumpers going,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, you can't be racing and hitting bumpers because that would be a proper crash.
We would race each other and then tap each other's bumpers at all the lights. And then whip around and do the thing.
Would the car show the effects of the bump?
Who knows? Yeah.
Dude, if I went out to get my Lambo and there was a scratch on the bumper, I would think I would notice.
I mean, it's dark. And I think there's no, the liability release with a valet. I mean, the stories I could tell. We worked a wedding once, and they didn't bring us food out, even though that's not a requirement ever, but they didn't bring us wedding food. And so my brother and I got so frustrated that we wrote horrible things in the wedding book where you sign. No way. And our valet boss came and read it and was so perturbed by it that he threw the book in the bushes. And then, so those people that day lost their wedding registry book.
My gosh.
Awful things.
Here's another thing that I'm fascinated by in life is giving the keys of the kingdom to the lowest paid people.
Yeah.
The security at whatever is just like an $8 an hour out of shape somebody.
And he is the thing standing between chaos and order.
For sure. Or you will put all of these precautions in for a wedding and spend all this money, but the people valeting the cars don't have any background checks. Here's another one. Who's going to install your security system at your house?
Yeah.
It's a ex-convict.
$15 an hour guy.
15 hour who can't get a job anywhere else. And now he knows the security codes to come and go out of your home. It doesn't make any sense at all.
How many messages are we going to get from security professionals who say that is inaccurate? This is a professional industry with highly paid, highly motivated employees.
Somebody is installing a security system right now listening to this podcast and just going to delete the episode and send hate mail.
But take those codes before you do that.
I'm so fascinated by your... so what kind of a car was Alyssa Milano driving?
It was, if I recall, a BMW SUV.
Modest?
Yeah, but it was
Alyssa.
At the time, it was, I think it's right when they introduced the X5 or something. So it had a bit of cachet, if I recall. I think it was white.
But it's still modest for her level of celebrity.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was no hotter girl
than Alyssa
to a young David Lee Scales in high school.
Did you follow her on Who's the Boss?
Yes.
Where did you first
That was my
learn?
introduction.
Okay.
Because I was younger than her, and so I must have been going into prepubescent and then puberty and just looking at her going, that could be the girl next door. Not on my street. But that is the ideal girl next door.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And she has gone nuts in her kind of the last 10 years.
Oh, is she nuts now?
She's insane.
What does she do now?
She's just all political, politically active. I don't know that she even works anymore as an actor. It's just all of her messaging on any platform is just some political rant. And she's deranged, And it doesn't matter what your political agenda is or views are. If you're that kind of invested in it, it looks like derangement from the outside.
Yeah.
If every time I see her face, she's ranting about the rainforest or puppies in shelters or whatever it is, it's like, oh my gosh. Do you ever just relax? Are you just that obsessed every day? You wake up, you start mashing your thumbs into your phone with some rant about something?
She should start ranting about bad valets is what she should start.
If she knew about it.
Maybe she'll know now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alyssa. Chewed your gum.
So your advice to anybody who's considering getting their car valeted, don't leave anything valuable.
Don't leave anything valuable. And if you can at all help it, don't. I mean, some places you have no choice. It is forced valet, then take your medicine and valet. But if you can help it, and especially, I think hotels and things are one thing.
But if it's a third party.
If it's a third party, you're at a private party and they hired a valet out, then be very, very wary.
And now I'm thinking, should I just never tip a valet? Because
no, tip big.
No, because you've already rifled through my stuff and I'm never going to see you again. Now I'm getting in the car. It's not as if my tip retroactively makes you go back and unrifle through my things.
Well, but it's like paying it forward. You're going to help the next car not get the same treatment.
You think?
Yeah. Also,
so your bad behavior was based on getting poor tips from the previous
No,
customer?
but it was like a general, I mean, it was bad behavior, inbred, a born bad sort of thing. But also, that born badness would get assuaged through the night if tips were good. I'd start hustling.
So the later cars get less.
Kind of. If tips are good, then it's like, yeah, I'll run a little quicker. I won't grind the gears on purpose. Grinding gears on purpose? Like, I'd love to just power shift all the way in without ever pushing the clutch.
Brutal.
Just
This is brutal.
Yeah, brutal. I wouldn't do that today.
This is all going to come back and bite you.
I know. I don't valet, so I won't.
You've got a karmic boomerang coming fast at your head.
It's so true. It's going to be one of Chuck Patterson's ski poles.
Why does he have poles?
I don't know.
So he's literally what looks like water skiing, but it's called surf skiing because he's under his own power. But he's surf skiing down Mavericks with poles.
Yeah,
it makes zero sense.
I mean, the poles.
It's only it's going to hurt you.
The poles should have little sleds on them too. Then it'd be kind of cool if it was like had little mini surfboards on the pole or little mini skis on the poles. Then I could see, okay, he's like, you could sort of change direction or something. Maybe.
It would be doing the same thing that a ski pole does.
Yeah,
which is a kind of a pivot point.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Chuck Patterson,
hilarious. All right, well, I think we should go to commercial break and then come back with Barrel or Nah. Chaz, welcome back to the show.
It was a great ad. I heard an ad. I happened to listen to or catch one of our podcasts driving to Jackson. I think it just popped up. I was audibling. I audibled, in case you wanted to know, Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. And then on the way back, Troublemaker by Leah Remini, her Get Out of Scientology story. Leah Remini?
Remini.
The Remini, yeah.
Leah Remini.
Girl and King of Queens, etc. Yeah. So a lot of dirt about Tom Cruise, which is kind of fun.
I love the Scientology story. Yeah. Like, I watch any documentary about it. It's so fascinating to me. And I love the idea that Tom Cruise is so crazy.
You get a lot of crazy Tom in her book.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
A healthy dose of crazy Tom.
I love crazy Tom.
I mean, it's almost worth getting. You can skim read up until you get to the crazy Tom part.
So what you were talking about, an ad?
An ad popped up, and I do believe it was for McDonald's, and I thought, crushing it
on our podcast.
Yeah, we're getting McDonald's ads.
Amazing,
blowing it out.
Did you see? Never mind. It's not even worth mentioning. So, Barrel or Nah. This is. I was reminded of this. There's a great documentary, but then Chuck Patterson reminded me of it too. Barrel or Nah, water parks.
Oh, Big Barrel.
Really?
For me, Big Barrel, based solely on Bill and Ted's Adventure. Big Adventure. What was it? Excellent Adventure. Sorry. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. When Napoleon goes to the water park.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That made water parks so, growing up in Oregon, there's no stinking water park. It's too cold, or none around me. But the idea of a water park, it's like the mall. In those 80s movies, it was like the mall, except fun and active.
I had the most fun of my life at water parks when I was a kid, but the idea to me now seems insane.
That it's gross water?
Partially that. Also, it's legal liability for injury.
Yeah, but remember those water slides that would go basically vertical? when
Yes.
that was so much fun. Like the thrill.
Yeah, of course.
The feeling of, it was like a roller coaster that had actual consequences to it, which was, I mean, as a kid, I loved them as a kid. I got to go back to, like, I feel they're not doing water parks like they used to.
So there's a documentary on HBO called Class Action Park.
It's about water parks?
It's about a water park in the middle of America somewhere, I forget where, that was not very well engineered. It was like this guy who had a bunch of money from some other business and like a real crazy streak, just like this wild cowboy type businessman. And he's like, draws up a slide on a piece of paper, then hires all of these construction guys to go build the slide. But, you know, they don't screw in the screws fully or something. So the kids go down and just get lacerated by exposed nails, or they make one that's a loop-de-loop.
And people drop out of the middle?
Yes, people drop out of the sky. Or it's an enclosed loop, but still like it wasn't engineered properly, so they don't have enough inertia or momentum.
So you drop to the bottom of the slide.
Yeah, like
and
they
just
fall out. Or if the kid weighed 200 pounds, he might not make it. But like it was just, and every ride or slide or whatever was equally fraught with peril. And there was just like endless lawsuits, endless stories of people getting maimed and injured.
Death?
I don't remember if they died or not. I watched it a couple of months ago, but it's Class Action Park is what it's called.
Okay, thank you.
It's crazy.
I'm going in, gonna watch it.
But kids are so dumb. And then the other thing is talking about giving the keys to the kingdom to the lowest paid people in society. They hire teenagers who are just getting drunk all day to be the quote lifeguards. So they're standing at the top and like shoving kids down. You talk about the vertical drop ones, kids just getting airborne, and then like connecting at the bottom and breaking a tailbone.
Oh yeah, so
like,
good.
Wild stories.
Is there a video footage of kids just getting out of control in the park?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, because the news started covering it back, and it was like in the late 80s, I think.
This makes me even more excited to go to a water park. I can't wait till it warms up. I think it's supposed to be warm this weekend, but all the water parks, I'm sure, are COVID closed, aren't they?
They're definitely COVID closed, and are they even in existence otherwise? I don't even know of a water park.
I'm going to go Google like the most fabulous water park in the world and find it.
The Palm Springs surf pool that's going to
has a water park connected to it.
No, it was a water park.
Yeah, it was.
It's no longer a water park.
Are you sure? I thought they were going to keep the water park up and running. I'm probably totally wrong here. I thought the water park was going to be a fun thing that you could also do there.
You're right. Maybe they will re-up on that, but it's been closed for years.
Yeah.
The two that we had in Orange County have long been closed. Raging Waters and Wild Rivers.
Yeah.
I think those have been closed.
No. Raging Waters is in San Dimas.
Is that still open?
Yeah. It was as of a couple years ago. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I remember from being a kid is there was just so much chlorine to disinfect whatever bacteria would be in there that I'd come home with just bloodshot eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Like couldn't see for a day.
But I remember there was regular advertisements for both Raging Waters and Wild, or whatever they were called.
Yeah, Wild Rivers.
Yeah, Wild Rivers and whatever, like water park commercials were a regular part of my childhood television watching experience, which just made it even better. Like all those kids having so much fun going down the new slide, introducing.
It would be like the commercial while you're watching Montel Williams.
Exactly. Just
Did you watch those terrible daytime talk shows?
For sure. Anytime I was sick, that's what it would be. But then you realize that, like, society was smart with those, or American society was at least, by making them so odious that after a while you're like, oh man, I'm definitely going to school tomorrow. I am not sitting home and watching Montel one more time. Price is Right was kind of fun for a second, but even 1 hour, The Price is Right, you're like, just a sour taste in your mouth afterwards.
It got so redundant too.
Yeah.
Like every episode of Montel was Sylvia Brown, that psychic. Every episode of Maury was, he is not the father or whatever. Like it started out where that was just
the novelty.
Every once in a while they would do the find out who the dad is, and then that became every single episode. But it's a hilarious concept to think that a 9-year-old Chaz or David sitting there watching paternity results.
Yeah.
So like this woman's life is like, this is the hugest day of her life. She happened to sleep with 2 people in the same week 9 months ago or whatever, year or 2 ago. And now she's sitting there like waiting with bated breath. And you and I are sitting there eating a Pop-Tart going, this is so good right now. Like it's a 9-year-old.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Hilarious.
Totally.
Hilarious.
Doesn't happen anymore.
No, this is what stimulated your later bad behavior with valet.
Completely. But barrel on water parks.
Barrel. Okay, I'm going.
Huge barrel.
I'm going nah.
Just too dangerous?
It's just gross to me. Yeah, like.
Risk reward is not there?
Correct. At the time when I was a child, I thought that was the greatest idea ever. As an adult, I'm like, I don't see any
whipping down a slide
quality.
Yeah, okay.
Even if like somebody has a slide in their backyard, I'm not interested in going down that at this point in my life.
Gotta go down
It's going to be friction.
Gotta go down. There's in Copenhagen, there's the greatest little place called Baby Bar, which is on the the port. I mean, they all, the waterway there.
Yeah.
They have a water slide. Going, you climb up the water slide. It's like one of those backyard pool ones. Okay. Like, I think it's bigger than that. It's like 2 loops around. But then jumping off to like, I think it's like probably 15, 20 feet to the water. That's super fun. So you come off the water slide, do a little backflip into the water. Super good.
All right.
Into it.
All right.
Love it.
I'll reconsider once COVID goes away and they're open again.
Yep.
Barrel or not, black surfboards.
Nah. Even trendy. They look cool, kind of, but the melting wax thing is real. I've surfed a black surfboard in tropical-ish waters, and the wax was gone it's just silly. It's silly, and
What if it has front traction?
If you got your traction on, and that's your thing, but don't they delaminate and stuff too? I mean,
the black?
Yeah. I think they get so hot.
Maybe.
Surfboards should not be black. I get a lot of things look cool black and should be black. Surfboards are not one of those things.
Okay.
Like surfboards can be any color of the rainbow other than the darker colors of the rainbow, i.e. black and or like dark purple. It's just,
it's not functional.
I don't like to be form over function guy. I mean, function over form. But with this, with the wax melting off, you just got to be.
Okay. So.
No barrel.
No black. No black surfboards.
Nope. Sorry, Dion.
The dude at the Capitol wearing the headdress with the bare, no shirt on that we talked about last week. Is that the Q Shaman?
That's the Q Shaman.
He lives with his mom.
Ooh.
So barrel or nah, living with your mom as an adult.
I'm going to say nah. I'm going to say only psychos, i.e. the original Psycho, live with their moms. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Okay.
You cannot do it.
I thought you would find a redeeming angle here.
No. As positive as I've been, I cannot justify living with your mother as an adult man.
That dude literally lives with his mom.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
I mean, it's not crazy at all
hilarious.
When you see him. What's he going to do? He's spending all his time being the Q Shaman.
Yeah.
Wonder what his mom thinks.
I know.
She's like, my son's famous. Did that guy get arrested? I don't think he did.
I'm not sure.
They're really going to town after anyone who even set toe in that thing.
The living with your mom thing, what if it's doing her a favor?
Nope.
She needs some help around the house.
You're doing yourself.
You're going to save on rent.
Nope. You're becoming Norman Bates is what all you're doing is Norman Baiting yourself. Yeah. You're Norman Baiting. That's pretty good.
What if this is an extension of the barrel or not? You live in your childhood home.
No.
So your mom passes away, you inherit the house, and you move in.
Sell it.
I think sell it too.
Yeah. I think that childhood things need to be left behind at some point, and the childhood home is one of those things, I think. Unless it is like a castle or a historical home, sell it. Or if you don't want to sell it, Airbnb it or rent it. You yourself don't live there.
Yeah. There's no question. I was going to try to find an angle too to justify living with your mom.
No.
It's bad news
It is
all the way across. You could be a good apple, but if you go live with your mom, you're going to develop some weird tendencies, idiosyncrasies that are going to be irreversible.
You're going to be Norman Baiting.
I'm going to argue to anybody out there. There are listeners, I'm sure, who live with their mom who are adult males. I don't care if you have to go into debt, if you have to pick up a job at wherever, McDonald's, anywhere. Start driving for Amazon on the weekends and nights. Do it.
Don't live with your mom.
And then the alternative is you have to get a studio apartment in a crappy neighborhood. Do it.
And
immediately.
If your mother needs assistance and help and you're helping her out, then have your mother live with you. Like
in the studio apartment.
Yeah, there's a big difference between living with your mom and your mother living with you.
Because it's on your terms.
Precisely. Those are two separate things.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Well,
no barrel. Sorry.
There's no barrel in there, no matter what.
Sorry, mother lovers.
Can't even find a head dip.
Nope. Nothing.
You're Norman baiting.
It
Norman baiting. New t-shirts coming. All right. Well, we solved it and we've done some good in the world.
How mad are people going to be on my pronouncements that the Capitol Hill insurrection was no more than a rambunctious party and that George W. Bush is the personality I'd like to spend time with?
I would have expected you to get more flack last week, and the fact that you didn't makes me think you're in the clear this week.
Okay, sweet.
Because, it was, I don't know, a sensitive topic last week. It's less sensitive now.
I don't know, but the whole thing has been branded. Then it hadn't really been branded yet. Now it's full on branded. This was a failed coup.
Yeah. This was branded, but less emotional.
Let's hope.
I think you're safe.
Okay.
Where do they send their hate mail?
Send it chaz@beachgrit.com. Very easy. Or,
there you go.
Or
DM it.
DM at Surf Journalist.
Yeah. You talked about being
grateful
for the DM last week.
Yeah.
Did that stimulate new DMs?
It didn't.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I agree with everything that you said about it's rad, this like the community aspect and being able to engage in real time, all that is amazing. I just haven't figured out how to schedule my life in such a way that I can maintenance all of it.
I mean, it's hard. Or it's not hard. Who am I joking? I am sloppy in my communication, but yeah, that does not mean
I'll go a week or two sometimes without even looking at anything.
I'll go days and days and days, and then I'll feel a bit bad when I get into it.
I feel bad, and then I'll spend, let's say, an hour on a Saturday morning kind of banging out responses. The problem is that only stimulates more communication. So for every 10 responses, then 10 emails I send back or DMs I send back, then I get 10 new ones, and it's and new ones come in the interim. Now I'm maintaining 100 different dialogues. It's impossible.
You know what you need? You need to give the keys of your castle to a low-paid intern. You should all the responsibility.
I think interns should be free.
Exactly.
I'll do it to a free intern.
Yeah.
Then I'm in. All right, Chaz. Next week we'll be back at Album.
I have an update on the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
That's right. I feel like I was waiting for another update too.
Well, yeah, Chuck Patterson. What did Chuck do?
I know. I thought there was one from last week, but whatever. Can't think of it now. All right, good show. Beachgrit.com, surfsplendorpodcast.com. Chaz, until next week.
Get barrel.